Today's topic of conversation, germaphobes beware, bugs in our bodies. Let's talk about this. So, when it comes to bugs in our bodies, did you know that we have this rich, lush, diverse population of actual bugs hanging out in our body? In fact, there's so many of them that there's 10 times more microbial bug cells than human cells in our body. Isn't that crazy? Wow, that's about 3 pounds of our total body weight is made up of microbial cells. That's wild. So this can consist of bacteria, viruses, yeasts, as well as parasites, but there's no denying it. Every single human being has a microbiome, also known as a flora, of bacteria living among us. These are bugs living among us. Every part of us has some sort of the bugs throughout our body are contained not only in the gut, which many of us think about when we talk about the bugs, but also in around our eyes, nose, our skin, the mouth, large and small intestine, our stomach, the urinary tract. But most of all, it is the gut because the population is really high there. There's a very diverse population there, and it has the most impact on our physiology just because of the sheer volume and weight there. One important thing when thinking about the bugs around our body is that there's a harmony that exists between the good populations and the bad populations. So think of them like almost like a country that's like a cohesive unit, and everyone has to kind of get along. And otherwise, there can be conflict that arises, and conflict that causes even like wars to break out, things like that. But there needs to be this harmony. But there's a harmony also with the terrain. We are the terrain. So when our body is adapted to these bugs and there's a good relationship, there's harmony. And that's what we're looking for, is basically bug harmony. We rely on the bugs, we need the bugs, and they need us, okay? So there can be a dark side to this, and that's when there's disorder, and that would also be classified as dysbiosis. That's when one population rises up and the others are maybe oppressed. This is bad. This can be really bad. This is when you get infection, actually. Okay, so think when there's an imbalance in populations, it's like an uprising is occurring, and there's this battle that occurs between the populations. So when there's an assault on the body, that's typically when you're going to get this anger and this disorder occurring within the populations of bacteria within the microbiome. Okay, so the biggest cause of this is stress. That's a major starting point. It dysregulates the hormones. It's going to actually dysregulate some of the body's mechanisms for keeping these populations in check. We have like security guards and police officers and all sorts of agents down there that are patrolling and helping to control the microbiome while also letting them do essentially work for us. Okay, so stress is actually going to play a vital role in causing some dysfunction and issues in the microbiome, in that flora, in the bacteria. Another thing is pharmaceutical drugs. There are many known to disrupt the normal colonies of bacteria, but one example would be metformin. That's a very popular drug prescribed to almost all type 2 diabetics who are on medication. So you can imagine how prevalent dysbiosis is actually. And I'll show you why that's important in a little bit. Another one would be antibiotics. We're prescribed antibiotics when there's an infection, meaning like an overgrowth of a bad bacteria, for example. But antibiotics are non-selective. They oftentimes most of them wipe out complete populations, okay? And then you're left rebuilding. So who can get the best grasp when rebuilding, that's who's going to be victorious, but it can cause a major imbalance, and that's a huge stressor on the nation of bugs inside of us. Another one would be sleep disruption. That's a stressor on the body that can cause dysregulation. And the biggest contributor is diet. No surprise there. Diet has the biggest contribution to the variety as well as the health of the bacterial colonies within our body. Okay. Another component would be nutrition insufficiency. That goes along with diet. Diet is the most powerful impactor on these bugs that I'm talking about. So, what happens when there's disorder? So I think of it as almost like these are workers that are working for you. And some of them are awesome to work with, some of them not so awesome, but they just have to exist. But when there's an uprising, the work doesn't get done. We need work to get done. They help us these bugs help us absorb nutrients. These sometimes they help us absorb they absorb some of our foods and actually create chemicals for us that allow us to survive and thrive. So when there's a disorder or a dysbiosis, here's all the things it's going to lead to. I think this is going to blow you away. It can actually cause malabsorption issues. It can lead to chronic pain, brain inflammation, fibromyalgia, migraine, strongly linked to this. Dysbiosis can lead to depression, anxiety, a lot of neurological things. Autoimmune issues, majorly contributed to by dysbiosis and gut bacteria health. Skin dysfunction, digestive issues, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, brain fog, ADHD, memory, focus problems, sleep dysfunction, brain degeneration, fatigue, overall inflammation, and all chronic disease can be contributed to because of the overall inflammation caused by the dysbiosis that we're talking about right now. So what do you do about this? How can you make sure? So from a preventative aspect, making sure that you have a diverse selection of bugs in your gut, as well as healthy groups, just healthy patrolling within your body. Diet is key. Diet is the most important factor, and a diverse diet is going to be really key. All of those colorful fruits and vegetables contain polyphenols, which are chemicals that the bugs love. It helps keep the populations in check. That's going to be fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, high quality protein, and of course we're avoiding any allergens or sensitivities. So bug balance is extremely important for overall health. Other factors, vitamin D3 highly contributes to diverse and healthy populations of bugs in your gut. Vitamin mineral support, fatty acids, fish oil, which contains EPA and DHA, are very anti-inflammatory. And most people are good with probiotics to help support their normal gut flora. Although for some people who have like a small intestinal overgrowth of bacteria, that's not always the best, and it's going to irritate them and make them way worse, actually. So, but sometimes there's more intense uprisings that can occur. Think about it like a war between the populations. And in those cases, that's when we have to actually like wage war against them ourselves. And that would mean really strong botanicals to destroy like certain pathological bacteria that shouldn't be in such a high number. Just the bad guys. Major diet changes like fasting may be warranted, and sometimes even antibiotics are needed, but that's only for a few choice bacteria. So overall, I hope you learned something about the bacteria and the bugs that are living among us. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's something that we should create a unity with and a friendship with, because they are actually essential for our existence. We're essential for their existence. So just appreciating it is the foundation. Hope you learned something today. Have a great one.